Hey, Christian. So it looks like you were working as an ambassador over at Sisters Hospital. So first and foremost, I really loved your artist statement. I think it was well written, and also I think it very much captured the essence of that place, and particularly the sort of unseen part of a hospital that I think, just the casual viewer or the casual visitor to a hospital might not notice or might not understand. I think through your service learning project, and definitely by extension here with your images, you really reveal a part of the hospital that is not casual, is really sort of something that's more deeper and well seen. So I like that a lot from that perspective. I'm not sure that you had any order to these images, and if you did, I certainly apologize for that. But as we're looking through the images here, sorry, let me just get my desktop organized a little bit better. So I thought this first image, Life of Charity, is sort of a nice intro to your entire body of work. It kind of gives a sign or a template or a faceplate to the whole project. And I think from a visual perspective, it's really interesting how you've sort of got this warm rust colored in the background, contrasted against this really bright and vibrant blue. So just from a simple visual perspective, I think it's super, super interesting. We talked about your hallway images, the other assignment in Module 9, so I won't spend a ton of time on here other than to say that your arrangement of frame is really pleasing here. It sort of invites the viewer to walk down the hallway here and sort of experience maybe sort of the coldness and almost the abandonment in the back hallways of the hospital where perhaps people don't typically go, or perhaps what it's like after hours. So again, I think beautifully done shot, and especially your composition in here is really wonderful. So then we go to the picture of the statue or the monument here. I gotta say, if we zoom in here a little bit, I feel like her face is a little bit blurry, and I'm almost kind of looking here, and it feels like I'm seeing like a little bit of movement blur. So I wonder if we go in and look at your file info here and take a look at some of your camera data. And yeah, so this image was shot at 1/4 of a second, which in this case, we really, really want to be shooting at an exposure setting that's higher than that, particularly if you're shooting the camera handheld. Remember kind of that magic number where you're going to start to see some blurring from your shaking of your hand is right around the 1/60th of a second. So 1/160th of a second. And you're significantly below that. Now, if we look at your ISO setting here, if you have moved that ISO setting up to 400 or 800, you would have been able to take the same photograph with that shutter setting of 1/60th of a second. So really, in this case, the lesson to be learned here is either A, we want to take this photograph using a tripod, or B, we want to boost that ISO level up high enough that we can select a shutter setting that's going to be fast enough to eliminate any of that handshake or that movement shake that we would get with really slow shutters. Then shipping and receiving shot, again, really beautifully done image. Again, I think it shows a part of the hospital that we typically don't see or experience. Yet it is very much a part of the hospital, and probably one of the essential parts of the hospital where all the supplies are being delivered, and sort of the the inner workings of the hospital all began with that delivery dock. So I like that a lot. Especially love sort of the decay and some of the rust that we see under here, and how that's juxtaposed with sort of the bright yellow railings here. Very visually interesting, very visually appealing, and again shows us a little bit different side of this place that we would than what we would typically see. Then we have your portrait of the person working the traffic out front. I'm super glad that you chose to at least reach out and try and get a couple of different people shots in there, because the hospital is very much about the people as much as it is about hallways and shipping docks and signs and stuff like that. So this does really cause us to consider sort of the unsung heroes at this place, or sort of the I guess we'll put it in quotation marks, the little people at the hospital that all contribute to helping making it run. So I think from that perspective, it's really good. Again, I look at the image though, and he does look a little bit out of focus here to me. And I think in this instance, your autofocus went to the car here, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think this image really could have been a stronger image had the focus been on his face. Because really, if we look at this picture, what's the thing that our eye goes to here? Well, it goes to, his bright yellow jacket, his orange hat, all of these things that for safety purposes are meant to draw visual attention to him. But also in a photograph, these are sort of like really hot colors, and they just like a magnet draw the eye to them. So in that instance, the thing that's in focus in this photograph, which is the car here, is not the thing that our eye is being drawn to. It's this guy here. So again, I think that it's just a little bit of a technical tweak. You need to change the focusing spot in your camera from the center to one of the left dots in the viewfinder, and that should make him in focus a little bit better. Love this portrait. I think this is a really great image. I think it again says something about the people that really help make this place go and make it operate. The composition here is just wonderful, with all these diagonal lines leading us directly into the frame where our eye sort of falls right on him. And then of course, the expression on his face, we can see sort of he's tired, perhaps he's at the end of the shift. And that exhaustion, I think, visually is very much conveyed through this photograph, through his facial expressions, through his gesture, and even sort of like the light that's sort of falling on the side of his face, and kind of putting his eyes in shadows. You think about the eyes are almost looking tired because they're in shadows. So really, really strong shot. Probably my favorite of the group. And then this shot, I think this is a perfect finishing shot for your project. So if we were to line these up in a gallery exposition or something like that, I think this image would be a really strong one as the final one in the show. So like this one a lot. We talked about it a little bit in our critique in the last module, so I won't go on too much about it. But again, I think really, really strong image. And then finally we have this photograph. Again, I think your compositional, the structure of your photographs is really beautiful. Excuse me. You have a really strong sense of how to use line and balance in your photographs. And our eye here just sort of comes right in here, and it's drawn to this spot here. And of course, we've got this chimney on this side, which it's kind of interesting. It almost looks to me like you may have worked this a little bit in Photoshop, and I'm kind of seeing almost like a halo around it, which honestly I absolutely commend you for trying to refine your images as best as you can in Photoshop. And stuff like this is pretty tough to do, and the only way you're going to get better at it is through practice. So I applaud you for practicing on it, but I think you just got to get a little bit more of a refined edge here so you don't sort of have that halo around the chimney here, or the smokestack in there. But other than that, again, really strong photograph and really strong body of work here. Again, couple little technical errors on the focus in those two photographs that I talked about. But overall, I think you've done a fantastic job of developing a concept in the body of work and then communicating it visually to the viewers here. So good job, and look forward to seeing the rest of your work throughout the semester.